Made some progress today on the van's front suspension. So this is the passenger side diff mount. So this is after I modified it. Basically this will give me just over an inch of drop from the original location. I could have built the whole new bracket, but I decided to just modify this one. So it's all plated in. And on this side you can see where the original holes were. There's just 2 bolts that go in there, and then they're offset from on the vertical, because how this sits in there is at a 45. So this is bottom of the van, the upper mount. So even though I spaced it down and out an inch and a half, since I'm at a 45, it made it a lot more that direction. Damn it. The other update is I was looking at the lower control arm mounts, and you can see how this hole is elongated. I must have had a loose bolt there for apparently a decent amount of time, so it kind of wallered itself out. So I made up these plates. This is only maybe 1/8 inch steel to begin with, but then I just took some 1/4 inch, cut it to size, put a 5/8 hole in it, and then welded her up to it. So now I'll be sure to make sure they're tight. I got better lock nuts than it came with factory. In fact, I'm using 5/8 fine thread this time instead of the coarse thread it came with, and then some distorted thread lock nuts for it, which should do a real good job of making sure they stay tight. But even though so it shouldn't have to worry about it loosening up, and if it does, now it's got a 1/4 inch to press on instead of just the original 1/8 inch. So, and my bolt's plenty long to handle that extra 1/4 inch on each side, so that will not be a problem. Finishing up another work day on the van in the garage here. This is the driver's side lower control arm. There we go. So I got it extended, boxed back in, threw a quick coat of paint on it just because. Got the new lower ball joint installed. And if you guys know the Astro's lower control arms, these are not the original mounts, nor where they originally were. I believe this little flat spot right here, I think that was part of where the mount was. They were out a little further and out here. And by moving them in, I got it to droop a little further and prevent contact with the upper control arm. Now, I did this 2-3 years ago, so I don't exactly know. So I don't know for sure where it was, but that's fine. So this one's pretty good to go. This one's still in place. Just got the ball joint on it. And then I also have the front diff mocked up in here right now. So what we're looking at here is, this is the extension tube coming off to the passenger side. And then up here, this is where it used to mount. Oh, there it is. That's where it used to bolt to. And then this section right here, and this boxed in, that's what I added onto it to drop it down. And that'll just get it closer to here so that my angles are a little softer, which should be good to go. It's looking like I'm going to probably make sure that this bolt goes the other direction to make sure I don't run into that. And then that's mostly it for this side. Take you over to the other one. I just stopped working, so it's a complete mess in here. I'll have to clean up before I start again. I forget if I mentioned this before. Ooh, it's very shiny. Let's see if I can get that out of the glare. Yeah, not too bad. This used to have like a kind of a weird bump out. It would go in right here and then come back out. and then ride back along here, and my tire would catch on it. So I took this whole piece and actually cut it out, which is, I was going to show you, but I don't know where it is. So cut it off and welded this piece back in, got it all welded back around. Hopefully I'm going to get away without doing that to the other side, because that side didn't really rub, but this side did. These welds aren't bad, but do an overhead stick to do this, not my favorite thing in the world. Kind of makes me wish I had my big welder set up already, but not yet. So then I also worked on the upper ball joints, which I'll go show you now. Okay, so this is what we're looking at for the upper ball joints. This is what was on it, and now it looks a little rough with all the surface corrosion on it, but it's just some surface rust on it, so it's fine. Now the thing about these is these are extended ball joints, which means this stud on the ball, it's got an extra inch in here between the taper and the pivot point, which moves that pivot up a little higher, makes the geometry a little nicer in there. But these are completely rebuildable. So there's this threaded cap on top, which once you pull that off, and there's a plastic sleeve, and there's also a steel insert that goes in there, and that's what the ball rides on. So since it had been a while since I had put these in, I tore them both apart. I haven't cleaned this one up yet. I just had it all soaking in some diesel to kind of break down some of the old grease. I don't have all the parts dug out yet. So I did notice a little bit of wear on these plastic cups. You can see some, not well. They're fine, but you know, maybe within a year I'll buy a replacement housing, which comes with all the wear parts, because there's a, down at the very bottom here, there's the sleeve that there's a piece that it rides on, and then these pieces. So I'll just have to order a new housing, and I'll reuse the ball, and then I'll be good to go with the upper ball joints, which for anybody running a lifted Astro, that if you know about flipping your ball joint to the top side of the, or actually the bottom side of the control arm, so instead of having the control arm here, it's here. I think this would be a good alternative to doing that, because with only a mildly lifted, you'd be able to leave it with the control arm here, which is kind of the safer way in case these bolts break, then it can't fall off, which I don't know how you could ever break those bolts, but you know, to each their own. But this would give you that extra, it would accomplish the same type of thing, but in a better way with better geometry by moving that pivot point up. So that'd be my suggestion. I kind of need to run them because of how far up I am, but also got the front diff taken apart right now. Everything, it didn't look too bad. I forget how many miles, if I've got 100,000 miles on it since I put the 410 gears in it. But I'm going to put new carrier bearings in it, as I had the driver side seal fail. So it needs to be done, which that'll be relatively cheap. But the gears are fine. Everything else is good. Now, so I had my Rock Auto order come in with my new CV axles. This is clearly not it, but one of them had there's apparently not on this one, because in there was a steel sleeve that sits right here that kind of engages into the knuckle, and it was partially bent this way and that way, and it would not have been good. So I got to have that sent back tomorrow. Hopefully I have me a new one soon so I can keep working on this. So I'm really hoping max 2 weeks, get this thing out of the garage. Because I would like to get some other work done, as well as get the materials ready to do things like replace these rockers. This side's good and strong yet, but I want to make them into rock sliders. I don't remember what it's called them, but rocker panels to rock sliders. So I'd be replacing this sheet metal with some square tubing that would be able to take the weight of the vehicle as I if I hit a rock or something with it, which is it completely necessary? No, seeing as they're relatively high up, but one of those things I want to do anyways. So, and you can see right there the remnants of my fight with that torsion bar. The passenger side came up pretty easy, but the driver's side was seized pretty good in that key. So between some heating and beating and some other methods to get it out, it relented. I'm going to do my best to make it so it doesn't happen again or as bad, because I know I'm going to be putting the torsion bars under some extra stress by having to put the extra preload on them because of my extra leverage, so they're going to be moving more. And these are original ones. These have 248,000 miles on them. So I think I'm going to actually buy one new one and carry it as a spare with me. And then if I break one, then I would be able to replace it wherever I'm at the time, if I'm not at home. And then buy a second new one. So then I would be running 2 new ones and then keep the other old one as the spare then. So just getting a little worried about breaking a torsion bar out in the middle of nowhere. And by making sure that I'll be able to remove it relatively easily, that's something that I could possibly do in the middle of the woods. Not that I want to, but I could. So that is today's update on the van, and that's all for now.